I will kick you out of the class for good. I'm just gonna, yeah. Trust me when I say I do have the power to kick you out of the class for good, and maybe other classes as well. Depends on, how much you plagiarize. So don't try to do it. Basically it. Right. Yeah. Okay. Plagiarism. Right. Work hard and work smart and not so hard. Right. A couple of tools to help you while learning. Not will. Sorry. These tools I already showed you guys in the webinar. I'm just gonna revise them a little bit. So for those of you who are concerned about speaking and writing, these will help you a lot, right? Trust me, these will be like life-saving things while you learn speaking and listening. So in terms of dictionaries, you have Oxford and Cambridge, which are the two dictionaries that a lot of people would use for academic learning. So in terms of, like IELTS writing and IELTS speaking, you need to use professional language, right? So no swearing, no foul language and that kind of thing. So using tools like Oxford or Cambridge would be pretty decent. They have a wide range of words, expressions, even including idioms as well, that allow you to, express yourself very clearly, both casually and formally, right, in speaking and in writing. So make use of them. This one is lexical.com, and actually I'm just going to get you this one, which is synonym. Yeah, okay. So Lexical is a free website that allows you to search for synonyms, words that share the same meaning with each other, right? Which is extremely useful in speaking. I will explain later why it is useful. Basically, if you want to get higher score in vocabularies in lexical resources, you would need Lexical, right? And thesaurus. Yeah, this one is pretty cool because it has an app. So if you want to get an app on your phone, so you don't have to bring this up all the time, you can download an app called dictionary.com with a little door here. And when you download it, when you open it, you can see that there's an option for you to choose thesaurus, which is for synonym, basically. Right. And this last one is Austin.com, which is my favorite. Oh, sorry. This one is a collocation. Dictionary. So collocation basically means words that are allowed to go with each other, right? So this one would be synonyms, this and antonyms actually. This one is also synonyms and antonyms, but OSTIC is collocation. So not every word can be combined together. You need to find the right one that express the right kind of information. So I'm just going to randomly put knowledge here. So if you search for knowledge, it will comes up a whole bunch of words that you can use with the word knowledge, right? So if you talk about someone with a lot of knowledge, right? You can say considerable, great, or vast, right? Or comprehensive, right? Or something you have like a bit more in-depth, you can say sound or thorough knowledge. You can use verb to acquire knowledge, right? Or to gain it, or to show off some knowledge, to apply knowledge as well. So each of these words will allow you to use the word knowledge in a different way with a different meanings in a different situation, right? So that's what you're going to need in both writing and speaking, basically, right? So yeah, these would be the tools for you guys to use during the class. So whenever I ask you guys to find me synonyms of some word, please immediately open Lexical and thesaurus and find them. Okay, right. Just gonna put this one right in the middle so that everyone can see it. It's not. There you go. Okay. Right. Any questions so far? I know I've been doing a lot of, talking and stuff. It's just the fact that during the first lesson, there will be a lot of me doing the talking most of the time. But I promise you, from the next lesson, you will do a lot of talking. Okay, why don't we get into lesson 1 then? I'm going to start with some reading first. Now, the thing with reading is, can someone please tell me what happens in the reading test? Let's see. Can I have Việt Quang, please? What happens in the reading test?
You will be given several paragraphs to read, and you will answer questions.
Are you sure the paragraphs?
Oh no, maybe an article or something.
How many?
Maybe 4 to
There
5.
is a fixed 4 to 5. Wow. Okay. Actually, no. We only have 3 reading passages. How much time do you have for the reading test?
40 minutes or 60 minutes an hour.
1. We have 60 minutes. Okay. It seems like you don't know much about the test, so I'm just going to ask someone else. Minh Châu, please. So 3 reading passages, 60 minutes. How many questions do we have?
40.
Yep, a total of 40 different kind of questions. Do you know the question types that we need to deal with?
Like I remember matching heading.
The most difficult one.
Yeah. Actually, I don't remember the name.
Okay, you can describe it.
Like filling gap.
Completion.
And some. I actually don't remember.
Okay. Oh, by the way, guys, if I'm calling someone, but you do have a question, if you do have the answer, feel free to drop it in the direct message for me. You don't have to wait for me to call you. Okay. Just drop everything in the private message. Minh Anh, please. Matching details. What do you mean matching details tonight?
Like there is a type of exercise that they ask that they ask us to matching the details, such as who said this thing or who said that things.
Okay, that one is actually called matching and classification. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Yes, and Hua said there's multiple choice. Exactly. We have true, false, not given, and we have the pen in the back. Yes, no, not question, not given. Yes. Kim Anh ơi, we will do each type of questions one at a time. Each lesson we will focus on one type of questions. And I think actually today we're going to talk about matching headings actually. Headings, matching classification, multiple choice. Actually, a very similar one to multiple choice is multiple answers. All right, so multiple choice, they give you one question and 3 to 4 different options, and then you have to pick one, right? But for multiple answers, it's a little bit different. They give you one question, but you will be given like 5 to 7 different options, right? And then you have to pick 2 to 3 different answers, basically, right? Another one is short answer question. They give you one question. You give a very short answer of 1 to 3 words. That's the maximum, right? And then in terms of matching, there's another matching here called matching sentences. I called this type tấm cám. I call it tấm cám because you know, like they have like 5 sentences, 5 headings, beginnings, and then they give you like 7 or 8 different endings. It's just like, you know, Tấm wants to go to the ball, and then Mẹ Cám was like, oh, I want to like separate these sentences. I want to mix them all up. You have to rematch them. If you're done, I'll send you to the ball. It's very Tấm Cám style, you know. And another one, which is super, super difficult in my opinion, is matching paragraph. Right. So in a text of like 700 words, they're going to give you like 5 little phrases and sentences, and you have to find them in the entire text, right? Which paragraph do they belong to? I hate this one. I absolutely hate this one. I think we have enough. Yeah, I think we have enough. So all of these will be covered in one lesson together, because the way that we deal with it is quite similar in terms of multiple choice, multiple answers, and true, false, not given. They will be combined together because the way that we deal with it is actually a lot like each other, right? So all of these would be the types of questions that you will encounter when you do the IELTS test, right? Okay, so what we're going to do now, actually, is exactly what you might ask, talking about matching headings. Finding main idea in a paragraph. Okay, so before we go into that, can I ask someone a question? How do you find the main idea of an entire passage? Can I have would have, please?
Yes. To find the main idea, I think that you can try to check to look for the topic sentence of the paragraph. Like of the
entire passage.
I think that you can like the opening paragraph.
Yeah.
I think so. And also combining
this one is often like underneath the title. Okay. What else?
I think that can also check the topic sentences of the paragraph, right?
So the what? Sorry.
Like the topic sentences of each. No, that's way too specific.
I think what you're trying to say is to combine the main ideas of all paragraphs, right? Yeah, exactly. Anything else? There's something very small but super effective.
The title?
Huh?
Which one? Title of the paragraph?
Yes, exactly. Basically, the title is like the most concise main idea of the entire passage, right? Okay, so when people go into the exam room, everyone was so excited to do the test, right? That you try to save every single minute, every single second. And people ended up ignoring the title. But sometimes even reading just the title can give you an idea. It gives you like an overall idea of what would be the main, the theme for the entire passage. Right? Now, and the thing is, right, whether the thing with matching headings or the thing with, finding main ideas in general, is that when you read something that give you an entire theme or topic, try to imagine things that might come up in the passage. I'm serious. I'm not even kidding. Sometimes you have to try to think, okay, so with this kind of title, what kind of information do I expect to read, right? So for example, if I give you guys this, hold on one second, I'm just gonna take a quick snapshot. Right, okay, so it says the world's most unusual towns and cities. What do you expect to read? Khánh Duy, please. The world's most unusual towns and cities. What would you expect the content of the passage to be?
Maybe the unusual.
Well, unusual, of course, but what do you expect? We all know it's unusual. No? Sorry, hold on. Ngọc Trâm, please. What do you expect to read?
I expect to read about maybe 3 or 4 cities and towns that are unusual, and the writer may describe the things that supposed to be unusual in the cities, and maybe some information like the location and how the people live in those cities and towns.
Yep, exactly. Right. Now, the name says it all, right? Most unusual towns or cities. So unusual in comparison to other towns, other cities in the world, right? The normal one. So what would be the unusual? Do people all wear dresses, right? Do people, eat some sort of weird stuff that no one else would dare to try? That kind of thing. So think about the things that you expect. So maybe, I'm not saying is just to be certain, but maybe each paragraph would give you the details of one city or one town, right? So you basically have a vague idea of the structure of the entire text already, just by reading the title. So never skip. Never skip the title. Sorry, my house is a bit loud. Yeah, never skip the title. Is actually pretty handy, actually, right? Okay, and then of course you have the intro paragraph, something that is very small, just like 2-3 sentences beneath the titles, and then, or you can combine all the main ideas of all paragraphs, right? Okay, cool. Oops, sorry. Okay, so next one, we're going to talk about how to find the main idea of each paragraph. Difficult one, right? This would be the difficult one. Đại Sơn, please. So how do you find the main idea of each paragraph?
Normally, I would read something at the beginning and the end of the chapter, of the paragraph. Normally, the main idea will be.
What if the paragraph doesn't have, or the topic sentence doesn't locate in the first or the last sentence?
then I'll just read the whole paragraph and try to find the main idea.
But how do you find the main idea? That's a question, isn't it? How do you find the main idea? Okay, if you guys have any idea, just drop it in the message. Phương Anh, please.
Sorry, I'm just out for a few seconds. Can you repeat the question?
How do you find the main idea of each paragraph?
You will find, look for the keywords in this paragraph.
Say again.
Yeah.
Come again.
Sorry. Can you hear me?
I think there's a little bit. I'm missing a couple of words. Find the.
You can hear me clearly.
I could hear you sometimes, but I'm missing a couple of words. So can you just repeat what you just said?
So okay, I think I will look for some keywords and some key phrase in the chat box. In the paragraph.
When you say keywords, what do you mean?
The keywords related to the topic.
Yes. I'm just going to put the group of vocab here. But basically exactly what you just said, right? So the keywords related to that particular topics. So what it means here is, so each paragraph only has one main idea, right? This is something that we need to remember. Each paragraph only has one main idea, right? Only has one main idea. So in the entire paragraph, there's going to be a group of vocabulary to do with that particular idea, right? The group of paragraph relating to the one main idea. So for example, if that paragraph describes to you the causes of something, right? Causes of a disaster, for example, there's going to be a lot of because, due to, owing to, caused by, it's a consequence of, that kind of thing, right? So that group of vocabulary combined together would give you the main idea of that paragraph, saying, this paragraph describes the causes of the disasters, right? So that's that kind of thing. So yes, you are absolutely right. You need to find the group of vocabularies or the keywords, right, relating to that particular idea. Yeah. I'm just going to put this one here. So sometimes the topic sentence would locate in the first sentence. Sometimes it's in the last sentence, but sometimes it's in the middle. Yeah, it's not always very clear cut. The way that they design the IELTS test is that there will be one or two paragraphs with very clear topic sentence, right? It's very easy to see, to notice, and you can easily find the headings. But there will always be one or two paragraphs with no topic sentence at all. Not at all. The reason is those questions would be the more difficult one to see whether you can get to 7, 8, or 9 in IELTS reading. That would be the kind of questions to separate you from the weaker one and the better ones, right? So it's very important that you do not rely on just the first and the last sentence. You have to find it in the middle, and you have to expect that sometimes there will be no topic sentence whatsoever. Okay, so in case there are no topic sentence, find the group of vocabularies to do with that main idea to help you find that main idea. Okay, another thing is pay attention to the sentence structure. Yes, especially the complex and compound one. Okay. What I mean here is, IELTS again, right. Like I mentioned at the beginning, IELTS is just a test to evaluate how good you are in using a language. So the fact that you are that you're really good in using sentence structures, grammar, right? Grammar rules is a massive advantage. Trust me. If you don't pay attention in English class to do grammar, you should rethink that because reading actually require a certain, level of grammar proficiency because you need to analyze the sentence structures to see what is going on, because these sentence structures will decide the meaning, the tone of the entire passage, of the paragraph, right? So the complex, the compound structure will let you know which bits of information is the most important one, right? They will let you know. So for example, sorry, I'm just gonna put a little note here. So for example, think about this sentence. Although I was hungry, I got to class on time. I know this is a very silly question. Can someone please analyze this sentence and let me know what would be the emphasis of the sentence? Phương Huyền, please.
I think the sentence emphasis on time. Got to class on time.
Purpose of the first phrase
is to give more details for the second phrase.
Yeah, exactly. It gives you more details, and it kind of make the second clause a bit more impressive, right? A bit more impressive. Oh, I was really hungry, right? I was going to faint. But I still got to class on time. And the teacher was like, oh my God, really? I really appreciate that, right? So that the first one is actually the less important phrase, right? It's not as important. It's just there to provide you with a bit more context. It provides you with a bit more details to make the second clause stronger and more impressive. So the main focus of the sentence is in the main clause, right? Which is, I got to class on time. So when you read a passage and you saw a very long sentence, right, with different clauses everywhere, trying to think, okay, what sentence structure is this? Which one is the main one? Which one is not the main one, right? And then you just pick out the main focus, which is I got to class on time, right? Pick out all the main information, combine them to come up with the main ideas for the paragraph, right? The paragraph, okay? Any question? Có cái chỗ này mày được có hiểu không? Nó có chỗ nào chưa hiểu nhớ hỏi luôn nhé. Cứ hỏi thoải mái. Okay. Last one. Now, last one. I think maybe you guys know this, but I'm not sure. I'm just going to give you guys this one, which is pay attention to the contrasting devices. Such as, however, but, yet, in contrast, On the other hand, sometimes, and I saw this in a real test, that said, or having said that. Now, even though these two phrases are a bit more informal, right? This one a bit more informal. Also the same for that said. But depends on the types of text. Some text, which is a bit more opinionated kind of thing, can also include this in their reading as well, which is absolutely fine. Now, let me explain to you why you need to pay attention to these. In a paragraph, especially the ones that express some sort of opinion, protecting an opinion, right? That kind of thing. What people normally do is, right, sometimes in a paragraph, the beginning of the paragraph is like a context, right? It provides belief, point of view, and like basic information about something, right? That provides basic info, point of view, common beliefs, etc. Right? But these would be the context, and that will be refuted by the writer on. Yeah, in the second half of the paragraph, the writer will refute them, right? Will contrast them, and that is the main purpose of the paragraph. So after these words is the main focus or the main purpose of the paragraph, right? So pay attention to that. Especially, I don't know if any of you guys are going to take the SAT test, but when you analyze the text in the SAT, this is pretty much what you would need to do. Yeah. If you want to understand the argument of the writer, you would need to find the thing that shows you where the writer starts to argue, where the writer starts to refute opinion, right? So pay attention to these, okay? We will have a bit more practice underneath, so you guys would have an overall idea of, you know, why I give you guys such a long thing. Usually people don't talk so much about how to find main ideas. Most teachers would be like, yeah, you read it, you find the main idea and then you match it with the headings. It's actually not that easy. It's very vague to think about, like, oh, okay, so but how do we find the main idea? So this is how you find the main ideas. Okay. Okay, so let's do a quick practice. I'm gonna give you guys small paragraphs, bits and pieces, so that we can do some sort of practice. Reading practice, finding main idea and headings. Okay, sorry, missed the theme. Right, so this is the text. Sorry, I'm just trying to screenshot this and get the text in. Okay, so what we're going to do first is, this is type 1, all right? Paragraph with a topic sentence. Right? I'm just going to give it to you straight up. This is the paragraph with topic sentence, right? Now this is the first sentence of the paragraph. Can you read it and then pick the topic that describe, well, the topic sentence basically, Right. Since it's very short, 30 seconds. If you have the answer immediately, can you drop it in the chat box? You can do direct message, or well, you should do direct message. You don't want to reveal your answers to other people. Okay, go ahead. Okay. Okay, I'm starting to get answers from people. I've got Dũng, Nguyệt Hà, Quang. Can you guys also think about why which answer is correct and why? Okay, and why, and what's wrong with the other two answers as well. Okay. To reread that. Really. Right. Chang Yung, please. What's your answer for this one?
I think the answers of this one is the B, an ideal, urban ideals design for an imperfect world. Is it right?
Okay. Why is it B?
I read the last sentence of this paragraph, and it said that the keyword is the ultimate model of unity and peace and harmony. And I think this is the why I choose B.
This is a very long sentence, right? It has like 4 different lines. How do you know which bits of information is more important?
First of all, in the first, it said that the words of conflict, and when I read the trees and the years in the B answers, it had the words imperfect word, and I think it's quite similar.
Yeah, exactly. The first half of the sentence give us a context, right? A context of a world of conflicts, right? It says world of conflicts. And that is basically what we have here as an imperfect world. Exactly. Right. And in the second half of the sentence is the introduction to Oroville, right? Oroville, which is called okay, an ultimate model of unity, peace, and harmony. Right, and this one is basically what is created as an urban ideal, right? Urban ideal design. Yeah, so basically we just kind of like combine all the main ideas together, and there will be, you know, phrases, paraphrased information in the headings that show you, you know, that is correct answer. Yeah. Okay, so why is A incorrect? Why is A incorrect?
There is just no information that tend to be the reason. Let's say the reason. And
yeah, there's no reason.
No statement that says perfect city always fail.
Yeah, exactly. We don't have the reason. We don't have fail either, right? So these information does not show up, and it's correct, right? Hoa này, why is C incorrect?
I don't see any conflict between reality and imitation. Just conflict and the plan and the model of the city.
Yeah, exactly. We have the word conflict, but it's not the conflict between reality and imitation, right? And we also do not have any information about imitation either, right? Exactly. So this is an example of, so this is, hold on one second, the full paragraph. This is the full paragraph, right? And you can see that underneath, right, it has no government, no one owns any property, and money rarely, if ever, changes hands. There is no leader, and rules do not exist. While most experiments at creating the perfect city do not meet with success, the majority of residents believe their city to be an exception, right? Now, so để ý một chút nhé, có câu although này. Although its critics point to the fact that levels of crime have been creeping up for some years now, its citizens choose to remain there, still believing in its utopian dream, still following its path towards a better world. Cấu trúc với although chúng ta vừa phân tích với nhau xong. Right? So in the very first là cái yếu tố mô tả cái gì, cái gọi là các nhà phê bình, đúng không? The critics, right? But it's not the main information. It's just a very trivial one, right? But the main information of this particular sentence is from a citizen to better world, which is strengthen the main idea of the paragraph, right? Okay, so this is an example of a paragraph with a very clear topic sentence, right? Okay. Now, type 2. With this particular type, I'm not going to give you the name just yet. I'm just going to give you a sentence and some information. One second, sorry. A screenshot. Right, here. So this is another opening sentence, the very first sentence about Long Year Bien. It's a very weird name. If you read which phrases or which headings seems to fit the most, right? Can you read that and send me in the text? Which heading seems to fit if you just read this particular sentence? It is very skeptical. Yes, exactly. Now, if we read this one, long year being, Norway holds the record for being the furthest north city in the world, boasting the world's most northerly school, airport, and university. So we have the furthest north, we have world's most most northerly, right? And it sounds like B is a correct answer. Right. Wait, hold on. Sorry. Right? If you just read this particular one. Now, I want to show you the entire passage. Okay, I want to show you the entire passage. After you read this, do you think B is the correct answer? Yeah. Now, pay attention. Okay, let's go back a little bit. Pay attention to the sentence structure and the connecting devices that we just talked about earlier. Right, when you while you read this. Okay. Đúng rồi này. Are you guys sure? Okay, finish the entire passage before you find another answer, okay? Yep, Sơn ơi, đúng rồi. Tuấn Anh đúng rồi này. Yeah, exactly. Huyền ơi, Huyền đọc lại cái này đi Huyền.
Vâng ạ.
Yep, và Hà Linh đúng rồi, Uyên đúng rồi, yes. Okay, let's check this one. Yeah, đúng rồi. Minh Thư, what's your answer for this?
I choose C.
Why?
My answer depends on I'm not really sure. It's just I guess.
Think about the thing that we just talked about. The connecting words, the sentence structures. Is there any connecting words that we talk about that show up in this paragraph?
Maybe the word ruse.
I'm sorry, what?
Ruse.
I'm talking about the connecting devices that we talked about earlier. Any of these show up in the paragraph?
I'm so sorry. It is aside from.
Actually, I'm looking for but. So you have the first sentence talking about, it being in the farthest place on earth. But then you have but. What really sets it apart is that it also lay claim to some of the world's strangest rules. Right? So we now know that it has nothing to do with it being the most, northern part in the world. And then this one, from In Long Year Bayan, for example, and people are not allowed to die. Right? And then afterwards, there's another but it doesn't end there. Oops, sorry. Right? It doesn't end there. And then they start talking about something about not only climate forbidden because they're danger to the no one is allowed to own any cats. They can walking around with guns and are not allowed to have cats, right? So basically there are two giant but in the text. I'm just gonna highlight this one so that we don't really miss it. Right? And that sets apart the two main information in the text, right? The first one is just a lead in, but starting from this but, strangers rules, and this but talk about another rules, right? And then we can come up that, okay, we can finally decide that, okay, so C is the correct answers, all right? Okay, right. So this is a perfect example of the kind of what would you call it? The paragraph that the topic sentence does not stay in the first or the last sentence in the second one. Type 2 is when the topic sentence is in the middle. Right? It's in the middle. Okay. Right. Type 3. Okay, hold on. Type 3 is a little bit different. Basically, type 3 asks you to analyze the, sorry. You need to analyze the headings, right? Now, look at this one. We have one sentence here, and this one is the first sentence of the paragraph. And you have two ways of analyzing the headings, right? Now, the first way is people focus on these nouns, regulations, dangers of the wild, humans, animals coexist, right? I'm just going to delete this one because we need to analyze these first. Now, if you only focus on regulation, dangers of the wild, humans and animals coexist, can you find these words in the text, please? Minh Bùi. Mọi người, do you see any regulations in the text? Anything to do with rules, something people have to do. Or not allowed.
Not allowed.
Yeah, exactly. Not allowed to build fences, right? Okay. Dũng, or dangers of the wild. Can you find it in the text, please?
Threat of visit
from wild animals, such as lion and hippopotamuses.
Yeah, exactly. Threat of visits from wild animals. Can you imagine you're having breakfast and you have like, I don't know, a hippo getting into your living rooms? Oh my God. Kim Anh này, what about humans and animals? Minh Anh ơi. Minh Anh nghe được không nhỉ? Phương Hà, humans, animals coexist. Phương Hà nghe được không nhỉ?
Có.
Right. Where can you see humans and animals coexist?
I think to buy fences around the house to keep out their neighbor.
They're not allowed to build fences around their house to keep out their neighbors. All right. Okay, so the problem with these is if you only pay to some keywords, it's not going to be enough, right? Because the problem with headings is they're going to trick you, right? They're going to give you a lot of distractors in the reading, basically by giving you all of these keywords in the headings, and you'll be like, okay, so they all show up. I see regulation, I see dangers of the wild, I see humans and animals coexist, right? So if you only pay attention to some keywords, it's never going to be enough, right? So one thing that you need to remember is also read words that set the headings of. So for example, if you look at these ones, the little bit which is a different, right? So instead of focusing on regulation, it says an unusual approach to regulation. Now you have the word unusual. Okay, so you read about these regulation. Do you find it unusual? And then B, you have occasional dangers of the wild, and you were like, okay, so I have a threat of visit from wild animals. Is it occasional? All right, what would be the level here? What would be the frequency here? And then C, you have where humans and animals cautiously coexist, right? So what is the opinion of the humans, living with the animals? Do they feel, welcoming? Do they feel excited about having lions visiting their homes, right? Or do they feel, like it says here, anxious, right? So if we focus on the words that set the headings apart, like unusual, occasional, cautiously, the adjectives and the adverbs, right? Then it's so much easier for us to recognize which information is the accurate one. Right. So, what would be the correct answer? Can you drop in the message, please? What would be the correct answer? Phương Anh, please. Yeah, đúng rồi, Tuấn Anh. Phương Anh, please. Okay, và Hà Linh nữa rồi này. Khánh Duy, please, what's your answer? Khánh Duy, can you hear me?
Yes.
What's your answer?
I think it's C.
Yeah, we have cautiously coexist. We have the anxious residents here, right?
Yeah.
Why is B incorrect? Why is B incorrect?
B is telling that dealing with the occasional danger of white, the dangers of white, I think is not connection with any info in the paragraph?
Actually, it does. It says here, despite the constant threat of visits. Right? So B is actually incorrect because it's not occasional, it's actually constant. Right? And A is also incorrect because it has nothing to do with any regulation whatsoever, basically. Right? It's, yeah. Okay. Oops, sorry. Hold on. C is correct. Okay. Right. Type 4 is a paragraph with no topic sentence whatsoever. Paragraph with no topic sentence. Right. Now, I'm not going to help you. You just have to do it by yourself. Basically, I'm gonna screenshot this paragraph here. And there are 3 headings here for you to read. There you go. I will give you guys a minute or 2 to read this one little paragraph and pick the right answer. Okay. Use everything that we have so far, right? Okay, so let's just do a quick revision. If you don't have a topic sentence, find a group of vocabulary relating to that main idea, right? Pay attention to the sentence structure. Find the main clause in a complex or compound structure. Pay attention to the connecting device, like however, but yet, etc. Right, that would help you recognize which bit is the main information. Right, right. Let's do this one. thêm mấy đứa. Tôi thấy có một số bạn mới có 2-3 bạn gửi thôi. Ok, của Hà Linh đúng rồi. Yep, của Minh Châu đúng. Yes. Trâm đúng. Yes. Duy, đọc lại Duy ơi. Đây đúng là kiểu một câu chuyện đúng không? This is basically telling a story with no topic sentence whatsoever. Yep, Nguyệt Hà đúng rồi, Hòa đúng rồi, yes. Ok, Sơn đúng rồi. Việt Quang đúng rồi, yes. Nhung đọc lại đoạn này đi. Ok, chúng ta chữa phần này nhé. Minh Anh, please. What is your answer and what are the reasons for it?
I choose B.
Why you choose B?
Because in the second clause of the last sentence, like instead I simply send the employees to the Australia roads. Yeah. It's like recognition that is important, like, and the first sentence, like before the last one, is they had a complaint. And
Which bit of information tells you it's important?
The second clause of the last sentence.
Which word?
Like I think like the recognition they paraphrase in like similar, like it's like a whole sentence, like half a whole sentence.
But that sentence is not the topic of this paragraph.
It's about like some whole style.
So what do you mean old style?
No, whole style.
Oh, the whole stack. Okay. What about it?
So it's like the Chinese just reproduce the real one, and they do it and they promise with the original one to like and to see, but and then
I'm sorry, who came to see?
they asked Austrian.
Okay.
But they broke the promise.
Okay. Is there any part in this entire paragraph that talk about importance? One thing you guys need to remember is don't try to speculate. If you try to speculate, if you try to infer, you're definitely going to get the wrong answers. Yeah, the answer here is not B. There is no part in this paragraph that talks about the importance of official recognition. It tells you the story about the Chinese creating a copy of Hallstatt, which is a town in Austria, without, telling the Austrian about it, or without telling them, or without asking for their permission. Actually, no, sorry. They did ask permission, but they did not talk to the residential, to the residents there about the original town. So that is the conflict. The problem is they don't ask. They don't talk to any residents of the place. They just took photos, they left, they made the copy, right? And that still caused for complaint. The Austrian people complained about it. That is the conflict. So A is actually the correct answers. Nowhere in this text will you find recognition. There's no recognition here. You cannot find importance, right? And you would not find any wider investment or result of encouraging it, right? The main purpose here is the word but, right? Describe the town, describe the cost, describe the fact that people were invited to visit it. But then there's a word but, very big, right in here, right in the middle, that says they still had cause for complaint. And then you have the word instead, right? They promised to meet with the residents to confirm. Instead, they just took photos and they left, right? That is a conflict between reality, which is the promise, and the imitation, which is the copy version without asking the local people, right? So A is a correct answer, right? We have one, is a little bit more time for the speaking. So I'm just going to put a quick pause on this one here. Do you guys have any particular questions about how to do the matching headings in particular? Wait, hold on. So we have, here you go. Find main idea for entire paragraph passage. Find main ideas for each paragraphs, right? I'm just going to very, very quickly tell you about, okay, the process of doing the matching headings one, okay? I do have to apologize in advance that the very first lesson of the course is usually a little bit more theoretical, right? We did a lot of talking at the beginning about, you know, the class, the expectation of the class, rules and whatnot. So it kind of like get in with the studying time. But from lesson 2 onwards, you guys will have more time for reading and speaking, right? Okay, so steps to finish, to do matching headings. Right, okay, so step 1, what I usually do, it's kind of like a little habit, actually. I would read all the headings first. Yeah, I always try to read all the headings first because I want to know what I'm dealing with. It's a little bit scary if you don't know what you're dealing with. Like this, for example. So you have all the paragraphs here and you have the list of headings from 1 to, this one says 8, right? So step 1, I would read the headings carefully. And while doing that, at the same time, simultaneously, just giving a bunch of words, I would think or imagine the kind of information that would show up in the paragraph. So, for example, if I read number 1, the benefits of collaboration, right? Okay, so number 1 says the benefits of collaboration. Now, in my mind, I would think, okay, so benefits means they would give a lot of positive words that allow, help, or can, could, may, might, that kind of thing. So giving people like abilities to do something, right? Give people ability to do something. So that would be the kind of benefits, right? When they talk about benefits, they would need to use this kind of words. And then I have the word collaboration. Okay, so collaboration, you have cooperation, you have work with others, or like team up, for example. So that kind of thing. So in my mind, right, I would come up with all of these ideas, all of these words, the things that I would expect it to show up, basically, right? And when I start reading and when I see this kind of information, I'm like, okay, so this is the correct heading for this particular paragraph, right? It will show up. Or number two says a forerunner of the modern metropolis. So I would think, okay, so forerunner means the leader, means the pioneer, right? So, or the first people who did something, right? Or maybe like a role model for somebody or something, right? A forerunner, right? So someone who creates something first, or people later on use it as some sort of model, right? So I think of the word forerunner, and I think of the information that might show up later on. And then I think of modern metropolis. So basically, in that particular metropolis, in that particular paragraph, then we need to mention something about, I don't know, modern cities, for example, right? Or you have cosmopolitans, which is very much like metropolis, basically, right? Yeah, so there will be something about, okay, so a particular city which is used as a model or a pioneer, a structure for, you know, the current time cities or the modern cities, basically, right? So that kind of thing. So I would imagine what information would show up when I read the particular headings. So in step 2, after I have done that, read each paragraph carefully and find the main idea of each paragraph. We already do this, right? We already have that, which is right above in number 2. Yes, in number 2, we already have that. And then step 3 is really simple, which means that you read and then you match with the correct headings. That's it, right? You match with the correct headings. Right? 3 very simple steps, but number 1 and number 2 are very important, right? They are very important. You need to spend time. You really need to spend time. You cannot rush while you're doing matching headings. If you rush, if you hurry up, if you try to get through it very quickly, you're just going to end up, finding the wrong headings, basically. One thing to remember is there will be headings that sound very similar or that have similar words. Pay attention, they might be distractors. Right? They might be distractors, which is why you really need to read the headings carefully. Remember, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 paragraph, but then you have 8 different headings. 2 will be distractors, right? So you have to be very careful about that. Okay? Right. Any questions so far about the matching headings? I know that you might ask about it earlier. Are you clear? Is there anything that you're not so sure about, Kimang? Kimang, can you hear me? Okay, cool. Right. Why don't we take, I'm really sorry that we don't have much time for speaking today, but it is an introductory lesson. So, later we're just going to do like a bit of introduction to the IELTS speaking, things that you need to be aware of when you do the speaking test. And then from next week, we're going to do a bit more, practical stuff. So why don't you guys take 5 minutes? Sorry, hold on, 7 minutes. Should we be back here at 8:55? Okay. 8:55, we'll be back here to do some speaking. Okay, cool. Right, I'll see you guys in a little bit. Hello, hello. We're back. Right. Let's do some speaking. Actually, the speaking is just very basic introduction into the speaking test. The kind of marking criteria that they're going to use to test your speaking ability in the exam room, and how to utilize this kind of like tools. And maybe I will introduce you guys to a couple of a few other pages that you can use if you want to expand your vocabularies online when you're at home. And in the homework, there will be a vocabulary file for you guys to do and prepare before we have the next lesson. Okay. IELTS speaking test. Okay, can someone tell me what happens in the IELTS speaking test, please? Who should I call? Haling, please.
So there are 3 parts in the speaking test.
Yeah. What happens in part 1?
In part 1, there will be maybe about 10 to 12 questions about your personal information, your hobbies.
How long is part 1?
Maybe 3 or 4 minutes.
It's actually 45 minutes. 5 minutes for the entire part 1. Yes, they're going to ask you 10 to 12 different questions. Are all of them in the same topic?
No, maybe they may 3 or 4 topics.
Yeah, 3 or 4 different kind of topics. What kind of topics are they? What kind of topics are they?
I think that the topic is just around your life, the basic things.
So basically, they have 2 types, right? So the basic topics would be about family and friends, home and hometown, about your studying and your work, right? That kind of thing. So very basic topics. And then what they do is that they give you a thing called a themed topics. So for example, in the real test question for this particular quarter, we have headphones, we have relaxation, we have cars, taking car trips, we have shoes as well, right? So these are all like themed topics. And basically they're going to ask you 3 to 4 different topics, which is equivalent to 10 to 12 different kind of questions, right? All in 5 minutes, right? Okay, cool, thank you. Tuấn Anh này, so what kind of answers should you give? Long answers, short answers?
It should be the brief one, the short one.
And how short is the short answers?
Well, maybe about 2 or 3 sentences. 3 sentences is the maximum.
Yeah, exactly. 2 to 3 sentences. Very, very quick. Basically, you just need 1 sentence to directly answer the question, and then you have 1 other question to very briefly give an answer, right? So you have 1 sentence to directly answer the question, and then you have 1 sentence to give a brief. Remember, you don't need to go into details, okay? Do not go and talk about the entire history of your family in the part 1. Just a very, very brief explanation. That's it, okay? So that is short answers. So actually, part 1 is very straightforward, very straightforward. Okay, so what happens in part 2? Hương Giang, please. What happens in part 2? Hương Giang, can you hear me? Ngân ơi, Ngân đi gọi hộ cô bạn Hương Giang nhé. Anh Quế.
Con vừa không mở được nhé.
Okay, so what happens in part 2?
So in part 2, you have a just one topic to talk about. Like you will talk about it in several minutes.
How many minutes?
About 2 minutes.
Maximum 2 minutes. Do you have time to prepare?
Yes.
How much time?
You have about a minute to prepare.
You have maximum 2 minutes. To give your answers. And what happens after you finish your answer? What happens after you finish your answer? Zan, can you hear me?
Yes, but I have no idea about that.
After you finish your answer, there will always be a follow-up question at the end of it. This is a very, very short one that only requires short answer. You don't need to give a long answer for this particular one. This is another part 1 like kind of questions, right? Okay. Minh Bùi này, so what kind of topic they would ask you?
Like academic topic.
Academic topic, like what?
Like I don't really pay attention to the topic.
Topic is actually a personal experience. 1. They're going to give you a cue card. So when you are in the exam room, part one, the examiner will read out loud the questions. You have to listen and answer. But in part two, the examiner will actually give you a cue card with a topic on top. And in the cue card, they're going to ask you to describe something. So can someone tell me what information would they ask you to describe? Ngọc Trâm.
I think the topic the examiner asks you to describe is like a lot of them. Like I watched the show on VTV6, I think, and that describe a journey or like a website you like or an app you often use or like some stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. So pretty much anything to do with you, basically, right? It could be a person, it could be an object, it could be an experience, right? A time that you did something very difficult. It could be about a trip, it could be about a place, it could be about pretty much anything to do with you, right? And besides the description bit, they're going to give you 4 suggestion points. Right, they're going to give you 4 suggestion points. You can use those points to help you develop answers. There will be topics that are very familiar and very easy, and you can easily talk about them within 2 minutes. But once in a while, there will be 1 or 2 topics that might be a bit more complicated than the others. And the suggestion points are there to help guide you into, giving a more detailed answers. Okay, right. So that's for part 2. What happens in part 3, with Ha?
Part 3, the
Examiner?
Yes, is going to ask you like about some more serious, like a more serious topic. And I think about 5 questions. It also depends on, there also depends on your answer.
Yeah, total time is 4 to 5 minutes. Yes, they're going to ask you 5 to 6 questions or more. Exactly depends on your answers. Yeah. On your speed and length of other answers. Yeah. There's no fixed number of questions they're going to ask you. The thing that Ha was talking about is actually the kind of question they ask you is social issues and abstract ideas. An example of abstract ideas is earlier this year, one question that they asked is, how do you define happiness? In your opinion, what is success? So oh my God, I got a word stuck in my head. Philosophical kind of questions, right? Talking about happiness and success in life. So very abstract, basically. And yes, the social issues. Now, in these questions, they share the same topic as part 2. So if part 2 talk about, ask you to describe a trip, for example, then maybe part 3 might talk about tourism, like the importance of tourism, the pros and cons of traveling in general, what it does to people, basically, right? So same topic as part 2, but it's on a larger scale, right? And these questions are called discussion questions. Now, the reason they are called discussion questions is because there are 2 types of examiners, well, 3 actually. And I actually met all 3 types of examiners. The first type will stick with the questions in the question booklet. Type 1 of examiner, stick with questions in booklet. Now, this type is extremely boring. Okay, he or she just give you the question, you answer another question, answer, question, answer. That's it. Extremely boring. But type 2 is a bit more interesting. Type 2 of examiner is the one who will listen to your answer and dig a little deeper into your answer. So they actually listen to what you've got to say, and then they would come up with more part 3 questions to ask you more about it. So it's basically like you're having a little conversation with the examiner, basically, which is my favorite. I actually got this examiner in 2019. Yeah, the 2019 test, I got this examiner. 2020, I met type 1, which is extremely boring. And then type 3 is a guy who kind of like, type 3 is the one I actually met this year. Sorry. Basically, is a mix of type 1 and 2 put together. So the examiner that I've got in May, he started out, with questions in the booklet, a couple of questions first, and then he literally just kind of like pushed the booklet aside and started asking me more questions relating to the answers that I gave before that, which, got more interesting towards the end of it. So yes, so just be aware that there will be 3 types of examiner, but, type 1 is a bit more boring and is very, technical, but type 2 is more interesting. And if the examiner get in a very good discussion with you, you can walk out feeling very good about yourself, right? That's basically it. Right, so these are the structure of the speaking test. So basically what happens in the test is that the total time for a test officially, right, on the official website of IELTS, it says 11 to 14 minutes, but usually it's going to be between 14 to 15 minutes per person, per candidate. You will be out in no time, basically. It's very quick. You basically sit down, do a bit of talking, and then immediately you've got kicked out of the room. It's actually very fast. Okay, right. So these are the 3 parts. Let's talk about the marking criteria. Oops, sorry, hold on. Right, what do you know about the marking criteria for IELTS speaking? Lan Uyên.
I have no idea about it. I suppose that we just go there and finish the test. So it is a task of examiner.
Yes, exactly. As a candidate, you just go there, you do your speaking. The examiner's job to use a marking criteria to give you score. But if you are aware of the criteria, you will know how to practice and how to give the examiner what they want to hear. That is our job. Our job is to understand the criteria, make use of it, well, of them, actually, there are 4 criteria, and provide the examiner with exactly what they want to have. Which is why we have to do it now. The first criteria is fluency. Oops, sorry. And coherence. Right. How do you understand these 2 words? Đại Sơn, fluency and coherence. How do you understand it?
Là cái độ trôi chảy và liền mạch.
Yep. Exactly. So trôi chảy has something to do with speed. The speed of your answer. If you do it too slowly, if it takes too much time to think about something like what I'm doing right now, you're not going to get a high score in fluency. You need to do something a little bit more faster than that. Normal speed to fast speed. And pauses. If you pause to think about ideas, then it's okay. The examiner will not mark you down if you want to think about ideas. But if you pause to think about words, to think about expressions, to think about ways to express your ideas, then you will be marked down, basically, right? So speed, pauses, intonation. Can you control your voice, right? Can you emphasize on certain things in the sentence to make it, stand out, to highlight it? That would be to fluency. Coherence is exactly the same thing. Can you do chunking in your answer? Chunking basically means you group a group of information together. You give like a very coherent and very fluent sentence, right, for that particular group of information, and then you make a little pause before you move on to the next one, right? Instead of like creating a super long and very incomprehensible kind of information, you kind of like separate them in little chunks, right? That's called chunking. And using connecting devices. Yes, actually coherence has something to do with connecting devices. Is your information, the content of your information is coherent or not, depends on what kind of sentence structures and the connecting devices that you use, right? So fluency and coherence. Next one, we have lexical resources, which is basically vocabularies. Right, so what kind of vocabularies do we need for speaking, Xuân Hòa?
Em nghĩ là nó based on những cái part mình nói à? Đâu không hẳn. Nó không nói đến những cái kiểu casual hoặc là informal ấy à?
Không dùng casual và informal ấy hả?
Vâng, nó phải academic một tí à?
Interesting. Okay. Right. Let's talk about this one a little bit. Wait, hold on. Before we do that, I'm just going to write this one. Grammatical range and accuracy. And last one is pronunciation. Yes, pronunciation is 1/4 of your entire mark. Now, let's talk about lexical resources a little bit. So in order to understand what kind of vocabularies that we need to use, you need to understand that there are 3 types of languages. Yes, actually, there are 3 types. Types 1 is like super casual language. So that would include slangs, swearing, foul language, and jargons of modern language, aka teen code. So anything to do with the super casual language, the super informal one. I'm just going to put this one informal language. That is not acceptable in the test, right? So I don't know if you guys familiar with this, but like if you watch movies and you have like American movies, people in gang, for example, and they'll be like, yo, dog, language that you would not want to use in the exam room, right? It's considered lower class. Yes, they are. It's considered lower class, and it's just not respectful enough in front of an examiner. Think about it. You're not going to go into the exam room in front of an examiner who decides the score of your test and be like, yo, my man, sup? What's going on? And the examiners are really like, get out. Right? That is just not respectful. So stay away from this. But the second type of language is called semi-formal. And this one also has a different name called professional language. Now, don't let the word formal or professional, kind of like distract you. Professional language doesn't mean formal language. Okay, they are very different. They're very different. Professional language are the kind of spoken language that is used on a daily basis in daily conversation between people. So the language that you would use to talk to your parents, the language that you use to talk to your teachers, the language that you use to talk with your peers, your friends, other people around you, the language that you use to talk with your neighbors, for example. If you see someone, on the street, the kind of language that you would talk to them on a daily basis, right? So that's the kind of professional language. So what does it include? So it would include phrasal verbs, right? Collocation, phrasal verbs. You can use idioms if you want, natural ways of expressing ideas, like using fillers, but not too much. Right? Not too much. Using certain expression that only belong to spoken language, like pretty much, whatsoever, that kind of thing that belongs to the spoken way, right? Pretty much, whatsoever, right? Or you use a kind of like linking sounds like I'm gonna, I wanna, I gotta, that kind of thing, right? So a very natural way of expressing ideas. Or you can use idioms, but mark my words, idioms are not essential. Nope. If you want to get higher score in IELTS speaking, you need collocation, phrasal verbs, and natural way of expressing ideas. In fact, if you don't use any idioms at all in your answer, it's absolutely fine. It's absolutely fine. I think I used one idiom that I was aware of that I could remember in my test, in the test that I took, and I still got a 9. Which is to prove that idioms is actually not that essential. The way that you express your ideas, the way that you, get your message across, that is more important than idioms. That's for sure, right? So that's a kind of semi-formal or professional language. And the last one is formal language. And this one is actually called academic language. And this is the kind of written language that is used in writing task 1 and task 2. Right? So 3 groups of languages, and you need to be very aware that they are very different from each other. This one, stay away, okay? I'm just going to put a little cross in the middle so that don't use it in IELTS. Semi-formal professional language is perfect for speaking, for spoken language, okay? This is the one that you need to use in your speaking, right? I'm just going to put here, use the semi-formal / professional language, right? And the formal language or the academic one, you can totally use that in your writing, okay? Another question is, so the kind of language that you use in your presentation, for example, can you use that? Yes. Yes, that is definitely a professional language. So it's not too spoken, but it's not too formal either. you still express your ideas in a spoken way, in an oral way, but it's a bit more, respectful, right? Use on a daily basis in conversation between people or in presentation, right? Or in presentation, okay? So to answer your question, lexical resources, vocabulary, we need to use this one. Okay, I'm just gonna make it red so everyone remember what it is. Okay. But in writing, you need a totally different one, right? You need formal language, right? Right, grammatical range and accuracy. I'm just gonna go through this one very quickly. The key is actually the word range. Yes. I'm just going to write in Vietnamese so we make sure that everyone is clear on this. Basically, cái criteria này nó sẽ kiểm tra cái sự đa dạng ở trong việc sử dụng các cấu trúc câu. Tức là gì? Chúng ta phải có một cái sự kết hợp cả câu đơn, câu ghép đơn giản, câu ghép phức tạp, ghép phức hợp, etc. vào trong cùng một cái yếu tố cùng với nhau, và phải có độ chính xác cao. Không sai các yếu tố căn bản như kiểu hòa hợp chủ ngữ động từ, các cái thì và dạng động từ, các cái dạng tính từ, danh từ, các thứ, etc. đều phải đảm bảo được chính xác hết. Sử dụng từ nối chính xác, sử dụng giới từ chính xác, thậm chí cái mạo từ ân other cũng phải chính xác. Thì đấy chính là cái điểm ăn về cái gọi là grammatical range and accuracy. Okay. And the last one is pronunciation. Nào, cái này là một cái rất là tricky, đúng không? Bởi vì chúng ta sẽ thấy là yếu tố về pronunciation là một yếu tố không hề dễ xuất hiện một chút xíu nào cả. Không dễ luyện nhá, không dễ luyện. Và cái yếu tố về pronunciation nó sẽ bao gồm rất là nhiều thứ. Chúng ta sẽ có đủ các âm tiết, đầu, âm giữa, âm đuôi. Cần phải đủ hết này. Chúng ta phải có cái word stress cho âm từ. Chúng ta phải có sentence stress. Yes, we do. Và nó sẽ hơi liên hệ với các cái fluency là một chút xíu, đó trên yếu tố liên quan đến intonation. Nó yếu tố liên quan đến cả coherence, đó chính là yếu tố về chunking. Right. Connecting sounds together. Connecting sounds chính là cái lúc nãy cô bảo đây này, chỗ nào nhỉ? Ở đây gonna, wanna, gotta, that kind of thing. Right. Hay là ví dụ kiểu it's up to you, thế thì không phải nói là it's và up, mà nó sẽ phải là it's up to you, that kind of thing. Đấy chính là cái yếu tố liên quan đến connecting sounds. Right. So cả 4 cái criteria này sẽ được sử dụng để đánh giá chúng ta trong cả 3 phần nhé. Chứ không phải là mỗi phần người ta đánh giá một thứ đâu. Nope. Part 1 người ta sẽ đánh giá chúng ta cả về fluency, lexical resources, grammatical range, pronunciation. Part 2 cũng lại nguyên cả cái 4 cái set đó. Part 3 cũng nguyên cả cái 4 cái set đó. Chứ không phải là người ta chỉ sử dụng có một vài cái criteria trong từng part 1 nhé. Thế nên là chúng ta mới phải dành thời gian để chúng ta hiểu cái marking criteria này là như thế nào. Chúng ta phải làm gì, chúng ta phải luyện tập như thế nào để đảm bảo là mình ăn điểm cả 4 cái khía cạnh mà người ta sẽ kiểm tra. Thế thì trong bài nói nó không thể là một cái tốt và một cái yếu, thì hai cái nó không thể hỗ trợ cho nhau được đâu. Đấy. Ví dụ như kiểu fluency rất là tốt, thế nhưng mà sai ngữ pháp liên tội thì chúng ta vẫn mất điểm. Thế nhưng mà ngữ pháp rất là tốt, thế nhưng mà tốc độ nói quá là chậm, ý nó vẫn bị rời rạc với nhau ra, thì chúng ta vẫn cứ mất điểm. Đấy. Thế nên là đảm bảo là cả 3 phần, cả part 1, 2 and 3, you guys have to meet the criteria, all 4 criteria in all 3 parts. Right? Để chúng ta hình dung được là vậy thì bây giờ chúng ta sẽ phải làm những cái yếu tố gì. Trong các cái buổi tiếp theo thì chúng ta sẽ có những yếu tố, thứ nhất là về vocabularies, right? Là một này. Yếu tố thứ hai là chúng ta sẽ có các cái yếu tố về cấu trúc câu mà chúng ta còn gặp lỗi sai ở trong các cái phần bài nói, trong phần homework thì cô sẽ chỉ ra tất cả những cấu trúc mà chúng ta cần phải có. Mỗi buổi chúng ta sẽ có một cấu trúc riêng. Right? chúng ta sẽ có những cái cô sẽ hướng dẫn về pronunciation. Tại sao lại là hướng dẫn? Là bởi vì trong 3 tiếng chúng ta không thể nào luyện pronunciation được, thực sự nó không hiệu quả. Thế nhưng khi mà ở nhà, buổi sau cô sẽ nói rất là cụ thể về cái yếu tố là vậy luyện pronunciation ở nhà như thế nào để chúng ta có cái to make progress. Đấy. Thế nhưng mà qua cái phần nói introduction của mấy đứa lúc nãy thì có vẻ như là chúng ta cũng không có bạn nào có vấn đề khá là lớn liên quan đến pronunciation đâu, thì chúng ta có thể luyện tập thêm, bổ trợ thêm. Right, đến nhé. So that's everything that you need to know about the IELTS speaking test. And I know that I do a lot of talking today and you guys haven't got any chance to practice, but these are really important. You need to understand what is like to be the exam room and what they are expected, what they expect from you, so that you would fulfill the requirement, you would meet the criteria and give the examiners what he or she wants to hear, right? So they are equally important just as much as your practice. So from next week, we will have more time for you guys to practice in class, okay? Right, so far, any question? Any comments? Anything? Just let me know. Because we are exactly at classroom. Wait, hold on. Where is the classroom? If you guys are not in the classroom, okay, so I see someone here. A couple of you guys, can you please check your email, please? Check your email. If anyone doesn't have the email, you can use this code here. Zhang, use this code to get in the class, please. I'm gonna copy this one in the chat box so you guys already have it. Please go in now. So if you have any problem, I can help you right now.